Considering the various ways we're accustomed to seeing the M, the 3, even upside down, Wendy's, M3. So when you see MK, as in Michael Kors, or when you see 3K, or MK, excuse me, when you see MK, you're actually seeing 3K, which is what? That would be KKK. And imagine that. K is the 11th letter of the alphabet, which gives us 33rd degree gematria. MK. What else is MK known for? Think. That's right, MK Ultra. You can read all about it. The government lies about what it was. I talk about it in depth on other videos. Mind control. Okay. I wrote Kingdom Witness Hall because the M and the W upside down or reverse. It's like the Magic Kingdom, the Kingdom Witness Hall, or the Magic Kingdom. M&M killers playing Mickey Mouse games. It's 33rd degree gematria, and even the Mickey Mouse ears themselves equal the number 3. M-I-C. Here's another word I want you to look at. It's America with a K, because remember the C and the K are interchangeable. MK Ultra, AEA, equivalent to a 666, Merked, America. One of the reasons Prince named his son Amir, because the vowels from Hebrew to English are, it's hard to explain. They're like interchangeable or non-existent, like zeros and ones in mathematics. But also notice in the 3K, America is CIA. And what do we learn about CIA? It's the same as CLAN, clan. 3K, CK. The 3K MK has a lot to do with the Eckankar Center Temple of Ek across the street from Paisley Park. Whether it's East meets West, M&M, mirror writing, M&M killers, 33rd degree gematria, the Ek Center, or MK, it is code for 3K, which is why the Ek Center became integral in being built within 2 years of Paisley Park. This video that I have on YouTube here, it's called Paisley Park Prison. It discusses thoroughly the Ek Center here, about at about 54, 55 minutes, we talk about the Ek Center. You can see where, like America, you can pull out the A, the E, and the A. The Eckankar also has an E and an A and an A, and so it's code for 666 or egg. Okay, so this is what I say, and if you want to know more about it, go watch this video, Paisley Park Prison. So, I'm playing the keyboard, and man, I had live sessions that lasted like 6 to 12 hours sometimes. I would put up microphones and karaoke, and just, it was wild. And anyway, so when I wasn't doing that, I was doing the writing, and we were just talking about the master class and the letter M and the 13 and everything like that. This didn't all happen at once, but I'm trying to make it make sense to you. So it's been over the last 3 years, but all the things that I'm sharing with you guys, I'm taking from the last 3 years and putting it in an order that you can understand what has been told and shown to me. But yeah, I have to reflect back on the last 3 years to have you fully understand the way the Creator began speaking to me in a way that I could hear Him, so that we can all hear Him better. So He showed me the things that were right and wrong with the world in the afterlife, and hearing about him from that place to this place is always a little bit difficult to describe, but I'm gonna keep doing my best and showing you guys proof. The next thing that I want to talk about, I guess, is what started happening in about June or July of 2020. I started getting some texts, and well, I'm going to show you my Instagram. I made some certain posts, and then I'm going to show you. I don't have all the texts. Oh my gosh, it would take up everyone's whole life to look at them all, but I did screenshot a few of them over the course of the year that I was being talked to by someone who called himself William and another who called himself John Johnson. And I'm going to show you those too. And I mentioned in part one that we would talk about how I was under the impression that I was actually talking to the Creator on the phone, the things that we discussed, the pictures that I sent, the way I was being compelled to do things that I would have never done, not even if somebody paid me or held a gun to my head. Like, it was me doing me, I guess. And we'll get there too, but always a little ramble. So writings, drawings, trances, like dreamlike states where I would hear telepathically messages that would make sense with my life after death. They probably wouldn't make sense to anybody who hadn't died and gone into the afterlife and stood in heaven's court and did all the things that I did. These things may or may not make sense. And the Creator told me that because see, when I was there, I got so excited, and I was like, oh, I get to tell everybody about you, and everybody will be so excited like I am. And he was like, no, because until you're made aware of another, it's like trying to explain to a fish that it's in water. You can't explain to a fish that it's in water, but if you take the fish out of the water, then you can make the fish aware of the water. And that's like trying to explain to people that they're surrounded and sustained by the Creator, how you exist within Him and all of us in unity as one great being. It's hard to explain to people until they see it from the other side. So that's why the things sound crazy. But again, they did happen, and it's my life story, and you're going to hear the truth and not somebody else's version. So the Merovingian bloodline that I keep pointing to, you guys, is a dynasty. They're in all the Matrix movies. They're always talking about getting the eye of the Oracle, stuff like that. They're like this vampiric, everlasting, new power generation type family. But they're the bad guy, and they consider themselves the proper British monarchy, Ottoman Empire, way back Merovingian dynasty, and the proper heirs to Christ's throne through the Davidic bloodline, which is false. But that goes with the M and the 13, and the reason why my TikTok videos, like the song Sister, talking about incest, and how his sister was the reason for his sexuality and stuff like that. It's because sex has a great deal to do with inbreeding, and keeping, the bloodline pure. So those things won't come to a surprise as those who know what I'm talking about either. In fact, check this out. If you look at Princegram, cut off the PR, it's incest. The word incest is right in the middle. So if you think that that's a coincidence, think again.
I was only 16, but I guess that's no excuse. My sister was 32, lovely and loose. I'm wearing no underwear. She said on me, gets in her hair. And it's got a funny way of stopping the juice. My sister never made love to anyone else but me. She's the reason for my sexuality.
I feel like she was either my sister or we were the same person or something.
Thing is, I'm not comfortable talking about the sex part, but it is an aspect of it, and it took place in the Garden of Eden, when Hashem made a woman, and she became the mother of all the living. There was a woman introduced to the world and for a purpose, but things went awry. And you can think of it the way that it was explained to me, man. I can't really get into all the details. I've touched on it before in the video called Temptation. And because the world was more pure then, it became impure with all the sexual acts and all the sharing, and the physical is what the Merovingian and evil bloodlines believe, that you must partake in the physical to fulfill being more animalistic than spiritual, and realizing that you're a soul and not an animal, and climbing up the ladder and not down if possible. Yes, it feels good. Yes, it's desirable. People say, why would the creator give you desire if he didn't want you to fulfill them? But you're supposed to fill them in a holy way, with rules. You're talking about bodily fluids and sharing your most personal aspects of yourself. You're using organs that are used to go to the toilet with. It's supposed to be a beautiful thing between a man and a woman, for procreation. And our world has turned it into a whorehouse of pleasures. And no one seems to want to control their desires anymore, and it's anything goes YOLO type of world. So yeah, people do need to be corrected as far as that's concerned, and that's one of the reasons I've been celibate for 3 years, because I want to do my part to correct what I contributed to the world, by living, quite promiscuously at some times in my life. I'm sure there's been way worse, but I'm telling my story. I was way less than some people, but too much for me. So when I say that because as part of this story, as uncomfortable as it is, because I don't like airing dirty laundry, it was June-ish, July, somewhere in there of 2020, that I started getting some text from someone who called himself John Johnson. I should have known right then, but like I said, the things that I was doing, I was being compelled to do. The writing was compulsion. The meditation with the maps and the telepathy, it was all more of a compulsion, like a possession. And so these texts started coming, and responding to them was almost like a compulsion too, because if you know me, you know that I'm not trusting of anyone or anything at any time. And this person gained my trust by talking to me. My point in telling you that is, when I tell you that this thing went the way of telecommunications, it did, and it's all part of my story. And if anybody ever tries to accuse me in the future of doing anything other than what I did and why I did it, again, I'm going to set the record straight, no matter how uncomfortable. So, I started posting things on my Instagram that had to do with Maui and Prince and stuff like that. And one day this person got a hold of me that said, tell me about this. And it was an image that I had posted on Instagram of Prince. This was the day, June 11th, 2020. I took this screenshot I was watching Graffiti Bridge, and I took the screenshot at the end and then made it like that. So this person named John Johnson got a hold of me and said, tell me about this. And of course, since he wanted to talk about Prince, well, we talked. We became friends, just talking, texting on the phone and talking, because like I said, I don't trust anybody, and we were just talking, and he was trying to talk about the New Testament, Jesus, and being a friend, and I was kind of relating a little bit of what was going on in the spring of 2020 with me, and all the things that I was going through, and I was telling him I didn't believe in Jesus anymore. But here's a text. John M. Johnson is who he called himself. Here, he mailed me some mail, a Bible and some books to my house, John Martin Johnson. And I blocked off the address just because, I don't know why, just to be polite. Now, I can't remember the exact timeline because, like I said, it's very hard to remember. Within a week or two, or the same, I don't know, within a week, I would say, I remember being contacted by John Johnson. Then someone who called themselves Mr. Sherman, Will.I.am, Mr. Sherman got a hold of me and started talking to me. And you guys, this is super important. With all the things that were going on, the writing, the trances, the compulsions, the gematria, the learning, the tree of life, the fact that I knew I was with the Creator, all of these things were happening. And so when these texts started coming in, I went with it. I was like Neo on the Matrix. The text that came from William Sherman, it's very hard to remember. It was 3 years ago. The person or whatever at the other end of the phone, I didn't really even ever truly ask who they were. I think when and if I did, the answer that I got was I am. And it was like your will, I am. I am your will, like the name Will I Am. And so that's why I think the person used the name Will I Am Sherman, William. So I know, again, that it sounds like whoa, and everybody says, oh my God, it would never be that crazy to think that I was talking to the Creator on the phone. But again, you didn't have all these things happen to you, and all the compulsions and upside down writing and prayer time and answered prayers and seeing your own body in the clouds and looking like the constellation Orion was in touching distance outside of my window, and all of these things that I've been relying on for the last 30 years as I sought the Creator, and 40 years as I listened to Prince. I knew what I was doing and what I was getting into. It was just like it was inside of me. So my compulsion to continue on with the conversations was coming from inside of me. It was like a drive to find out what was going on, because to me, I was actually going against my own fiber, because I'm very not trusting. I don't talk to people, but both of these conversations started out kind of sporadically because of the way that I am, and then it's just they made me feel like they knew things about me. They did know things about me, and so again, I went with the compulsion to follow the truth and throw caution to the wind and just go with it. So for a while, well, basically since June or July of 2020, the one called William, again, it was a random dog in my yard. Yeah, it looks like September 2020, I started screenshotting them right here. You can see September. And you can see that I had 2 sevens. That was William Sherman. It was 2 sevens together for the song Reflection. And I would talk to William Sherman about things that were going on a little bit, not too much in-depth conversation at all. But he agreed, yeah, it's pretty intense. And then I said, I need to ask something. I know it's pretty, every once in a while I go to give information on Facebook or Instagram or something, and is it okay to share that information? And he said, yes, share anything they ask for. You can see that this person would refer to me as Elizabeth Louise Sherman III, call me sweetheart, and we were saying sweetie and stuff like that. Golly, this is embarrassing. Again, there wasn't a great amount of verbal back and forth, even for texts, but what there was mostly is a lot of pictures and being asked for pictures and stuff like that. Now, I need to show you this, because this is proof of what I feel like maybe in the future some might try to change the story and say I was doing something that I was not. This will make sense to you, I promise. You can see right here, I asked, sweetheart, are you John Johnson? And down below, he says, yes. I said, okay, I'm going to put the phone on the charger, because what I was going to do was going to talk to John Johnson, because I was under the impression that they were the same person, because again, I was being kind of drawn and compelled to do these things. You guys, I'm not naive. I can't emphasize enough how prior to the spring of 2020, I never done anything like this in my life. I don't trust anyone. I just don't. If you've watched my other videos, you knew I grew up in a very dysfunctional way. There was nobody to trust except for the Creator, and that's why my leaning on Him and my understanding of Him and my willingness to share this information, even though it's embarrassing to me. I know that my soul has a purpose, and that soul purpose is much more important than any red face that I might have right now. I mean to say that because I'm educated, I'm smart. Nobody, I don't think I let people take advantage of me. And I wasn't doing anything wrong. There was nothing going on in these phone conversations except for talking about Prince and the odd things that were happening to me at the time, basically. And the phone conversation, the texts that I was having with John Johnson were way more in depth. He kept trying to guide me toward Jesus in the New Testament, and that he was just a friend. He was checking on my daughter. He, he just seemed like a friend. And Mr. Sherman, on the other hand, again, you guys, to make it clear, when I was texting and speaking with Mr. Sherman, I was under the impression, and am to this day, Hashem, forgive me if I'm wrong, it's all so confusing, that I was speaking to I Am, the one that we knew as Prince Rogers Nelson. I know that sounds odd, but you have to watch my other videos to find out how he was both the creator as well as showing himself to the world as a human named Prince Rogers Nelson, much like I am Elizabeth Ann Pride, but my sole purpose is to be the other half of him here on earth, the feminine half of him. So again, you don't usually get to know that sole purpose till after. So it might sound kind of deep and trippy, but that's because it is. So in the summer, fall of 2020, I didn't really know all the things that I know now, hadn't had all the experiences yet. So when I was talking to Mr. Sherman, he gradually, I asked enough questions to know that this person knew things about me, my childhood, things about me. Should have been a little more cautious, but again, the compulsion to do the things was more, there just wasn't as much caution. So anyway, when they started asking me for pictures, so I'm writing, I'm meditating, I'm drawing maps in my sleep, I'm writing upside down, I'm contemplating the tree of life, I'm being told about electrocution and vampires that live forever, I'm being told that my soul hasn't died, that I have an eternal soul and one that the Creator could use in this realm. So he made me to die at that exact moment in 2010 so he could share all these things with me. So when they started being told to me in the spring of 2020 and I was getting the text, it all just sort of went together. It was just as if I woke up from my death. Because from 2010 to 2020, I didn't remember not a single thing about it, but from COVID lockdown of 2020, I could have just woke up from that death and I wouldn't know the difference, because that's how isolated and into my research I was, and into the drawing and into the trances and into the music. And the reason for that is because now I know in the afterlife, when I was talking to the Creator, he told me that there was a plan, and that was to make the COVID-19 lockdown. I don't know if it was part of his plan or the evil Yetzirah's plan. I'm not sure, but the Creator controls everything. So the COVID plan was part of a plan to put us all in sort of a timeout so that we could see what's in our hearts, so that we would have time to do teshuvah, repentance, to get to know the Creator again before Redemption Day. Now again, I didn't know all these things at the time, but I know them now. So I don't know where that ramble was going. June, July, August, the will.i.am started asking for pictures. I could hear about my purpose in my remembrances, and I could feel at this point like a certain entity with me, in a more, it's not necessarily in a physical way, but I have to try to describe it to you in physical words. If you've ever watched the movie Ghost and Patrick Swayze comes back and Demi Moore can feel him and he's there and stuff, it's kind of like that, except for I know that what I'm saying and what I experience is real, because the thing is, when I was in the life after, when I met him, I didn't see him in a physical way. It was just a soul that I recognized. And so when that soul would come around me or talk to me or compel me, then I would just listen. I can feel it. It's a part of me. I just can tell. So, I forgot what I was saying. So yeah, when this person who told me that they were I am and Prince started asking me for pictures, I was really kind of uncomfortable with it. I've been, like I said in earlier, I've lived promiscuous life, but I've always been, kind of shy, and I try to be good. And so I started participating in that. And man, did it go off the chain. And I tell you that because it was part of my purpose, and I'm going to tell you why. The Creator told me in the life after, when I died in 2010, that we were each other's halves, like half of Adam and Eve, of this great soul of the Hebrew has the Shekinah. It's this feminine part of God, and that's who he told me I was here on earth, and we had to be separated, him in his world and me in mine, but because he's the Creator, he could always hear me, and he's always guided me, like I talked about in parts 1 and 2. He could always hear me. He knew I slept with a knife under my pillow. He knew everything. He made me to be a certain person. And the thing is, when I died in 2010, as I mentioned earlier, he told me that though we are reincarnated souls, my soul had never really tasted death or something like that. It hadn't died. And he needed a place for his soul intellect, because it's like the song in France, the skinny man died of a big disease with a little name. That was AIDS. That's what he told me. And by chance, his girlfriend came across a needle, and soon she did the same. That was me. I died from an overdose from a needle, and I was there, and he was talking to me, and he told me he needed a place for his soul. Your soul and your intellect are kind of the same, the way that I understand it. Because it was me, because I was his fit, he was going to put that in me somehow. I'm not sure how that took place, but that he would be kind of resting and regenerating for 10 years. Again, I didn't know any of this. I know it all now, but he said in 2010 that he would need a place to be and regenerate, sort of. It's the only way I can say it, for 10 years. And then
close your eyes and count to 10. And when you open them, I'll be standing naked with nothing but a smile on.
Funny, right? Yeah, no, it's the truth though, because what I remember now is what was told to me is because, again, with the bloodlines, wanting to maintain their purity, and the fact that if you consider Adam and Eve were one flesh, one soul, and then made into two bodies, somebody could call that his sister, and they could say that's a brother and a sister, and then that could be the beginning of incest. I'm saying if, because I remember hearing something about these things, but I not enough so that I can put it eloquently. All I know is that in the Garden of Eden, there was all kinds of sexual sins, and as we know, the sharing of the apple wasn't just an apple, it was sex, like swinging, sharing. And I can't explain it all, but when people were banished to different places or out, then there was like sex with underworld spiritual darker forces, and those are the ones who like to do things with seed that spills down your drain or wherever else you feel like spilling it. They do things with bodily fluids. They're Satanists. It's the saliva, the blood, the seed. Judaism is completely against spilled seed. You're actually talking about lives, it's really powerful stuff. So the things that went on were very dark, and very occult. And part of the world's correction here in America is to fix the depth of the sexual falling and it got really dark. So my point is this, when I was asked for those pictures and stuff like that, because I was being compelled to do things, not to say I wouldn't, like, I was doing them on my own ish, but there's things that I did that I've never done before in my life and would never do again, unless I was under some kind of the same compulsion that led me to do all the other things. And the Creator had told me this, and again, forgive me if I'm wrong. I do my best to remember that after the slumber of 10 years, at the reawakening, one of the first things that he would crave is the sexual attention and time of me, because of the time that it's taken to get here and use me as his messenger and as a dwelling. And it's just the truth. And again, I didn't know this stuff at the time. I was like sending the pictures and doing the stuff, but having carried a 40-year lust torch for the one the world knows as Prince Rogers Nelson, and being under that programming, maybe I was under MK Ultra programming, I don't know. The programming, it made me do things. And no, he never sent me pictures of himself as Prince, or no pictures like that. It was not like that. It was more like I'm in a movie, like the Truman Show. And so started sending pictures, and they just got more and more risque until they turned into videos. And this was over a year. I never sent them to John Johnson. He never asked for them. He was just this guy who was trying to be a friend, who knew things about me and was just trying to get to know me and be like a sister friend. And really the only reason that I tolerated him is because I thought I thought he was the Creator himself. So, man, if you don't watch this whole video, are you going to be confused? Yes, I thought John Johnson and Mr. Sherman were the same person because of all the compulsions that I was being led to do. I was just participating because, again, with the 40-year torch, even though it was more for the music lyrically and leading me towards God and everything like that, of course, with the image of, Prince in my head, those things were easy to do, and that's just the truth. We were created to look the way that we do for a purpose. Everything is for a purpose, and it's under his calculation and tutelage. So, yeah, that was more of a long ramble than I meant for it to be, but it's because I want to tell the truth, because one of the other things that I keep remembering is that this time is going to come when the Creator is going to back me and let the world to know who he is, and that everything that I'm saying is true, no matter how crazy. We live in a world that is backwards, upside down. It's way more mystical and occult than anyone would like to admit, or that anybody can possibly comprehend until they see it from the other side and from up above, like I was blessed to. So do I care what you think of me, brothers and sisters? No. I hope you like me, and I hope you can feel the truth, but I'm doing what I'm doing for your souls. I'm holding the passageway to the Creator open, the passageway that's called Teshuvah. It means that no matter what you've done, no matter how ugly, you can return to him and you can say you're sorry, and the time is coming that you need to do that now, not later. When you do it by blind faith and because you understand that you need to be humble and apologetic before the Creator and ask for help to never do the things again, when you do them by faith, you're going to receive so much more than when you do it by sight. When you see him and you become extremely humbled, and then you do your teshuvah by sight, it will be powerful, but it won't be as powerful as if you do it by the faith of what your heart is telling you. And what your heart should be telling you is that what I'm saying is true. because the world is a cult and upside down, and people wear masks in more ways than one, people pretend to be who they are not. I don't pretend to be anybody but who I am, and in doing so, I must tell the truth. So I'm willing to bare my soul to do my teshuva, and I'm doing it publicly. And here comes a train, so